Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another video on this channel, the Big Sigh. Yeah, where the invitation is to join me in slowing down and connecting with the human experience and what's real in us, you know, what's actually going on for us. Yeah. What I'm trying to do here is sort of communicate from the heart space rather than from the mind. The mind wants to prepare and do all those things, but yeah, I realised just a moment ago, it's like, oh, that's what I'm trying to do. Get the mind out of the way in many ways and just speak from the heart every day. It's as much a practice for me as it is, well, hopefully it might help people, but yeah, I'm sort of doing this to practice being more authentic and speaking from the heart, and also sharing that too. So yeah, I'd love to invite you to join me in a big sigh, and just a reminder, if you haven't been here before, the sort of approach in this is, and the whole reason for the name is just to drop any effort and any trying and any pretending, or put, you know, so often we put on masks in life, and the big sigh is just a return to our hearts and a return to what's true, what's actually true. As much as we may want something else to be the case, it's like, okay, I sort of give in, I give up trying to project an image or to do whatever I'm trying to do, and I return to what's real, what's actually real, you know. So yeah, gosh, I can see my body naturally doing it anyway, but let's take a nice big in-breath. And an out-breath, and just surrender. As you might be able to detect from my voice today, I'm feeling quite tired, quite depleted physically, but also I'm with a sadness today. I don't understand it yet. I don't really have any ideas of exactly what it's about, but sorry for all the noises. But it's heavy on my heart today, and yeah, I've once again been procrastinating about this video because yeah, lots of fears coming up for me at the moment in general. And I think I've been reflecting on the videos that I've shot thus far in this series, and noticing that this real desire to, well, what I've noticed is actually wanting this idea of wanting to teach something, or wanting to share my learning so that other people can benefit. And whilst there's nothing wrong with that, and I guess want to do that, it's important that it doesn't take me away from what's actually true for me and alive in the moment, because I guess that's my big thing. That's kind of what I want to communicate with these videos, is that it's all welcome. And there was a really big part of me that didn't want to shoot this video today. But I feel like that would be kind of hypocritical, and I'd love to find love and acceptance for all the parts of being human, you know? The sadness, the anger, and share that and not be ashamed of it or feel like I have to hide that away. So for me, this is quite a big, it's a big growth opportunity. It's an opportunity for me to develop my self-love even further, to show myself that I don't have to hide away all of these parts of myself, no matter how sort of ugly they seem, and in doing so maybe hopefully help you to do the same. I can feel it's really heavy on my heart. One thing that I have been, excuse me, burping the tea. One thing that I have been worrying about with these is that they're really self-indulgent, you know, and in a way they are, and screw it. Maybe that just doesn't fucking matter. Yeah. And as much as I didn't want to shoot this video, or had resistance around shooting this video, I've also made a commitment, and I really want to honour that commitment, because I've mentioned in previous days that commitment's been a real struggle for me. Yeah. And something that I'm realising more and more, realising more and more that I've been tuning into recently, is just this lack of self-worth, and this sense underneath it all that I don't deserve lots of things, you know. I don't feel deserving in general to receive. I don't feel worthy to receive. And that's been really enlightening. And with that lack of worthiness has really driven so many of my decisions and my behaviours. Like, the truth is, right now, I've got a lot of fear. I'm really nervous, or I have no idea what life has in store for me, because I'm in a job that I enjoy some of the time, I don't enjoy a lot of the other times, and it's really not something I'm particularly passionate about. And it just doesn't pay me very much money, you know? And I guess I'd really love to be in a different job, that's the truth. But at the same time, I've got this physical pain, this physical condition that's really painful sometimes, and it's really debilitating and exhausting. And with my job, one of the things that I really value about it is it really affords me a lot of flexibility. But it's a 0-hour contract kind of vibe. There's not even a contract. And when I take time off work, I just don't earn any money. So I'm nervous about that. I'm nervous about not earning enough money through this job, because I really am. I'm living paycheck to paycheck at the moment, and I'm 34, and I'm feeling like I really want to build something and accrue some savings and do do all that stuff, and that feels scary, you know. That's playing the game of capitalism and putting a roof over our heads, and that's a very real thing, you know. As much as in spirituality people try and transcend that, it's like, well, that's a material reality that we have to live with and accept as part of the dance. Yeah, but on the other hand, I'm worried about moving jobs and then not having that flexibility, and then basically having to work through my pain and not find balance. Yeah, and I guess I have this sense that my health condition seems to be just escalating, and it's something I've had for over 10 years, these chronic gut issues and pain. My internal organs kind of feel really tender. So yeah. There's a lot of fear in me, and there's a lot of that sort of low self-esteem comes up, you know, and in waves. Sometimes I'm feeling high in self-esteem, at other times really not feeling confident at all, and really desiring that consistency to just have some sort of stability. But I think I'm getting there, and this realization that I've had recently, this awareness of this lack of self-worth, God, it's been amazing, and something feels like it's shifted, because I think similar to what I touched upon, maybe was it yesterday, about like treating this human as sacred. There's a part of me that is tuning into that feeling of trying to really feel worthy every morning, quite intentionally. I'm really proud of the mantra that I'm saying in the morning at the moment. I used to be really anti-mantras and think they're a bit of nonsense, but I don't know, I'm a bit of a convert now, because it's just, a few things have clicked about it, where it's sort of, yeah, I've realised it's about their energy. It's not about the words necessarily, it's about embodying the energy of the truth of what you're trying to say. And yeah, with this sense of unworthiness and undeservingness, has come this feeling that I'm an inconvenience to others, and that I don't want to bother people too much with my stuff, and I've always put other people's needs ahead of my own, you know. Even like knowing that I need to look after my own needs, there's a difference between like having that understanding and then actually doing it. And there's so many layers to it, and I'm finding more and more depths of layers of where I've not looked after my needs, you know, or thought that my needs should be put to the back of the queue. So it's with that I decided, with my affirmation, it's like, okay, what do I struggle with the most here? And the affirmation that I'm saying to myself in the morning at the moment, which feels like it's been so powerful, is my needs matter. I look after them with an unshakable conviction, even if it's inconvenient or uncomfortable for others. Because I guess one of my fears, if I do put my needs at the front of the queue, or I do prioritise my needs, my fear is that other people will be upset with me. They'll be annoyed that I'm causing them an inconvenience. Gosh, they're so loud. Sorry about this. These parakeets, man, they're really, really loud. Sorry about that. I'm still trying to get my microphones to work, but having no luck. But at some point soon I'll be able to make the big upgrade. I think it's actually a problem with my phone rather than the microphone. But anyway, there's some inane information for you. Yeah, I'm sort of worrying about being punished, I guess, or not feeling safe to put my needs first. And that's been such a big realization for me, but again, now that I'm tuning into that, now that I'm tuning into, there's a plane going over and everything, goodness me, can't wait for these microphones to start working, goodness me. So yeah, sorry about all that noise. Tuning into this sense of the fact that, like I was saying the other day, that there's a human being here in this time and space. Like, right here, there's this body, you know, there's this soul, there's this heart. And I'm the one that needs to look after him. And his needs are sacred. Or it's just a reverence for those needs. And yeah, the shift that started to happen for me is that I've started to have self-worth, you know? That feeling of not being worthy to receive, that feeling of, do you know what it is? Like one of the big things is that I've not imagined that people would be willing to stop what they're doing and prioritize me for a moment, you know? And actually come into my world and join me, and I felt like I'm not worthy of people doing that, you know, or being afraid that people don't care about me enough to actually do that, to just put their stuff aside and just support me. I guess underneath it all there's this deep yearning and sadness about, about just wanting to be held and wanting to be loved. I guess underneath it all, it's wanting to really feel like people care. And I felt like a lonely island for a long time, you know. I'm so much better these days. I've got such a beautiful friendship group, and there's so much heart-centered speaking and relating and connecting, and I love my friends so much. But it's years of feeling scared to fully connect and fully imagine that other people actually care and love me, you know? Gosh, feeling grateful for you watching, actually. In a weird way, you're kind of holding space for me and supporting me, even though you're not, you know, doing it at the same time. I'm grateful because I'm sort of feeling my heart shift as I speak. As I say these words, it's like, wow, this is what my heart needs. It sort of occurs to me that this is a bit like a sharing circle. And I don't know if you've ever experienced a sharing circle, but for me they're incredibly powerful. And I first experienced one back in 2018. I was actually on a mushroom psychedelic retreat to try and help me with some of the challenges that I was going through at the time with depression, social anxiety and mental health issues and all that other stuff. I've been very anti. That's a whole thing that maybe we won't get into today, but I basically experienced sharing circles for the first time and hearing people speak their truth, and I was like, wow, gosh, this is what we need. And I spoke my truth and people were really grateful for it, and I got this sense that this is part of my purpose in life, is to share my vulnerability, you know, be vulnerable and be seen being vulnerable. So since that point, I've, through various different avenues, been trying to share that, and I guess this is a new way of doing that. And I also, I guess it's an invitation for you to be real as well, and I'm trying to sort of model it in some ways so that other people can can feel like they can do the same. You feel like you can do the same, you know. Give permission. Because this is where life is rich. In the trueness, in the realness. This is what has meaning. Whereas, like, changing who we are, or sculpting ourselves to be acceptable to others, or more lovable, or whatever, that's fear-based. That's fear-based and mind-based, and it's not fulfilling at all. Because what we can do is build up this character for ourselves, and that actually may receive loads of love. Like, I think the classic one is the funny guy, right? The guy whose strategy for connection and safety is to make people laugh, and it works, you know. People love the funny guy. I love my friends who are really funny. I love them dearly. But underneath it, the trouble with that is that, just to use that as an example of like a sort of persona that we can create, underneath that, or if people do love the persona, then they're not actually loving the real us. And underneath it all, we know that truth. We know that, oh, they're just loving me for my jokes. So there's still this painful sense that we're not being truly loved for who we are. And that we have to keep maintaining this facade, this persona, this identity, in order to receive the love that we want. And that's really exhausting, keeping up personas like that. And it never feels like full, deep, nourishing love. And the love that I felt and received from others, like during that experience of having a sharing circle for the first time, and many, many, many times since then, has been like, oh, my heart craves it, you know, because I'm being seen for fully who I truly am, you know, and people are loving that. And slowly, 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 it's chipping away at that belief that I'm not lovable, the belief that I'm not worthy, the belief that I'm not deserving. And that's healing. That's what healing is in my eyes. And I feel like that's what we're missing in society, you know? So these videos, I really want them to be a chance for us to slow down and not feel like we have to be somewhere else or do something else, and really just get in touch with what our heart is yearning for, you know? What our heart really, really needs. And maybe that's sadness, and maybe we don't want to go there because it's really fucking uncomfortable to realise how far away from we are from what our heart really wants. It may be physically uncomfortable in our bodies. But until we decide to turn back towards ourselves and our hearts and let go of all the fear, we're just gonna, well, it's guaranteed to be miserable on some level, and uncomfortable and unfulfilling, and we won't live up to our potential as human beings. It's from this heart space that we can live a life of fullness and fulfillness. Is that a word? And peace, you know. We can't achieve peace without it, and we're so lost in this game of capitalism and status and feeling this need, and they make total sense. They're complete strategies, survival strategies, you know. Like, I just think Donald Trump comes up in my head as like the archetype of this, where he's a human being too, and he has a human heart as well, and he is under the same human conditions as we all are, but he's really lost. He's really lost connection. He's so far away from his heart, because he's underneath it all, I would imagine. He's just terrified, and he's just a child that needs love and that wants love. But he's really terrified of showing any form of weakness. He's one of the most defensive people I've ever seen. And that comes from fear of what other people think. You know, it's really basic stuff. And these are all here for a reason, you know, like for the vast majority of our existence as a species, we've lived tribally. We've lived in small groups of like 50 to 100 max or something. I can't remember the exact number, but it's something like that. So for that, like, I don't know if you can see my arm offshore, for that length of our history, we've lived in tribes. And then for this minuscule fraction, or maybe this slightly larger fraction, we started developing settlements and started, you know, living off the land and farming. The agricultural revolution 10,000 years ago. And we started to expand our tribes, and then we become, for this minuscule fraction, we've lived in the way we live in cities and towns, and this modern way of living. And so our sort of social evolution, our technological evolution, has just gone super quick suddenly, from a you know, historical perspective, but our physiological, biological, mental evolution is, we're still cavemen, you know, we're still hunter-gatherers, we're still tribes people, and so we're living, we still have all these, basically, if you were living in a tribe of 50, getting on with like as many people in that tribe as you possibly could was so crucial for your survival, because if people didn't like you, you wouldn't get, you know, the connection that's needed. You wouldn't get the food. You wouldn't get, you know, basically being liked was like crucial for survival. And there was only 50 people, so you could actually manage 50 relationships, let's say. So we still have that, and we're still acting from that place, and essentially being liked, or the fear of not being liked, is essentially like the fear of death, because the ultimate thing would be if you get cast out of the tribe for whatever reason and you're on your own, you just don't survive, you know? It's a brutal world out there. You would have really struggled to survive on your own out in the wild without the tribe. So it really is in some ways a fear of death. It's like a deep, deep unconscious fear that we aren't aware of. So little wonder our mind is doing everything it possibly can to keep us safe, and to prioritize being liked and accepted by other people over fulfilling our own needs, our heart's desires, you know. But now we have safety, you know, we live in this modern world, we have abundance of food. Well, for those that are lucky enough to have an abundance of food, I do want to acknowledge that this isn't everyone in the world. An abundance of food, shelter, safety. We don't have to worry about that kind of death anymore. We can live on our own. We don't need the tribe anymore. But we're still left with that terror underneath it all, you know. And we're hijacked, you know, people are using, capitalism capitalizes on that in some ways, right? There's a lot of fear stoking in order to give people a belief that they need to buy a certain product, for example. And a lot of status chasing and what's societally acceptable, that's so baked within us. Like what's the done thing in this group, you know, in society, what's acceptable for society. But if we can start to transcend those concepts and return to the truth, then that's where true freedom and true peace in the heart resides, in my opinion. And so the big story at the moment that capitalism, I guess, has told us is that money and status are what we should aim for, and success through the lens of capitalism is the earn lots of money, buy a house, get a wife or partner, have the kids, and then grow up this, and that's what the goal is, you know. And maybe that is so that in some ways society won't operate unless we have people working to resolve, to keep the system going, you know. So I think these ideas came around predominantly, maybe I'm wrong and you can tell me otherwise, but I think these ideas came around during the Industrial Revolution, factory workers and things like that, where it was crucial for factory workers to be in the factories. Anyway, I'm noticing that this is going into quite mindy territory, and I want to try and stay in the heart if I can. And actually, there's so much to speak about on that topic, but maybe I'll save that for another day. But fundamentally, there are stories that society tell us, and the ways that we feel like we should be, or that society tells us that we should be, and these we adopt them because we don't want to be the outcast in society. We don't want to be different. We don't want to be weird, and because that's a really painful experience. And yeah, like it has all these deep fears, unconscious fears behind it all, you know, being the outcast and all that sort of stuff. So we conform, but so often these ideas that society, that we have on a wider societal level, how we should be, are just not close to the truth. I'll give you a quick example of this. It's something I did some research a while ago and watched a few documentaries about soap, and we didn't really use soap for the vast majority of our existence. We just washed with water. But this concept that you need to wash yourself with soap basically came from soap companies, right? And they changed the whole societal narrative around what cleanliness is. So then people started buying soap, and now look at the way that we live. It's just considered disgusting if you don't wash. If you wash without soap, if you don't use soap to wash, or shower gel or whatever. There's so many products now. That's all based on a lie, fundamentally. I've stopped using soap because it can actually damage us, you know. But just a quick example of hello sweetheart. Oh Mia, this is the cat. But anyway, yeah, gosh, I'm allowing myself to just go off wherever. Interesting tangents, but I hope it proves useful. I feel like this is becoming quite a long video, so I'm gonna leave it there. But yeah, I wanted to really share gratitude again. If you've watched this far, I really appreciate you, and I'm really glad that it's engaging enough to stay with for this long. Yeah, and if you did feel like you wanted to subscribe to the channel, to share the video, to like, to comment, I'd really that would really meet my needs, you know, and I'd be really grateful So yeah, thank you for that, and do stick around if you're enjoying these reflections on life and this communication from the heart space. And one of the reasons why I brought capitalism in as well, I wanted to mention, I feel like there's so much escapism going on in the world. I've noticed it in me, this like real need to be productive the whole time and do stuff and find the next video and skip on to the next video. But yeah, I say that this is a chance to slow down, and it's a chance to return to ourselves, you know, and it's only through really slowing down and listening that we can do that. So these videos, I guess I have this sense that they just go totally against the algorithm. They go totally against this capitalistic. I'm not expecting them to become successful or get millions of views, because they don't really work in line with, you know, the model of YouTube and social media and the algorithms. But I'm not doing it for that. I'm just doing it primarily to meet my own needs, but also to hopefully contribute to the well-being of those few of you that do tune into these videos. And because I'm not interested in doing these videos if it means I have to then start tailoring it to the algorithm. So it's a chance for us all to not feel like we have to constantly do stuff, and just slow down and just be human, you know, and really just touch in with, it's an invitation to slow down and to really touch into our humanness, our human experience, and get really honest with ourselves and with others. The more we talk about this, the more it becomes acceptable, the more parts of ourselves that we can accept. It becomes so much easier when we share these things and receive acceptance for those things, because then we're not in it by ourselves, we're in it together. So this is me, I guess, reaching out an olive branch to you to say, I'm here for you as well. If there's parts of you that you're really struggling to hold, then I would love to hold that and just be with you for it, not to give you any advice or to change it, but just to acknowledge your humanness, and I can step in to your human experience and join you in that, you know. So yeah, this is an invitation to vulnerability, an invitation to your heart's yearning and to find that self-kindness, because it's changed everything for me. It really, my life, everything, the way I live this life is different since I've started to be more vulnerable. And I keep saying this, but I'm gonna keep saying it, because it's the most important thing, I think, in this life, it seems to me, is to live from the heart and really understand our own needs and try and fulfill them. I think that's why we're here. So yeah, feeling grateful, and I hope you stick around, and I hope to hear from you. I really do. If you want to add comments in the comments section, if you want to get in touch with me in some way, my Instagram is George. Maybe I'll leave a link to my Instagram in the description, as well, in the comment section or whatever, the video section. And drop me a DM or a voice note or whatever. I'm really open to holding space for others if I have the capacity myself in that moment. And sending you so much love and well wishes on your journey wherever you're at. And I've got this this one sign-off idea, which is just to say at the end, and as always, happy humaning. But it kind of feels a bit cheesy and a bit inauthentic maybe if I say that every time. But the idea is just, good luck on the human journey, however that appears to you, you know, however unacceptable that is for you, whatever's real. Yeah, wishing you really well and sending you lots of love, and I hope to see you in the next video. All right, take care.